Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started in today's three of three sessions on GSA tips, et cetera, to have success. But before I do, I just wanted to give a quick tip for success to those of you showing up early and on time. I really appreciate that you do that. One is showing up at a meeting on time is a good thing. But two, it pushes the word out throughout LinkedIn to others that, hey, don't forget, we're going live. The training's live. Andy's here today talking to us about succeeding with GSA contract vehicles at federal agencies. So it pushes the word out. My tip for success for you today comes from Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. If you look at it, you can see how yellow and old it is. I've had this book since the late 90s. That's how long I've been reading it when I was back in the Army. And I read it every single year. And the 7 habits are really effective. And today, I wanted to talk about habit number 4, think win-win. And this aligns to today's training because I'm going to be talking to Andy, who I'll bring online in a second. But this aligns to when you think win-win, it's like, how can I win and how can they win? So it's not win-lose where I win and they lose, or win-lose where they win and I lose. I sacrifice myself. That's not good either. We want win-win relationships. And today we're going to be talking about going to agencies and talking to them about the GSA schedule. And so I want you to think about win-win as you go forward. Anytime you're having meetings, my tip for how to have success in those meetings is always have that attitude of win-win. Both of us must win. It's not enough for you to just give so much of yourself. You're in a mutual relationship with that agency buyer, and you want to make sure that both of you are winning. So put win-win down in the chat if you understand that. And I'm going to bring Andy on. We're going to get started here. There's Andy. Before he says anything, I'm pulling him out of the corner.
Yay!
No corner for Andy.
First time out of 3. Woo-hoo. Hey, 1 for 3 gets to the Baseball Hall of Fame, Neil. So
actually, you're just giving me you're giving me credit. You were in the corner when we started. So
wow.
But that's what happens is because I make myself big, and then I got to kind of bring myself down to a humble.
I already threw around the rock star term, so earlier today. So again, your name's on the marquee, baby. That's that's all it. And I'll actually add to the win-win is the WIFM acronym too. What's in it for me? So make sure you're answering that question not only for you, but for the other person that's in the room too as well. So that plays into the win-win as well.
No, that's perfect. We're off to the races, everybody. And actually, I might start off with just introducing myself, and Andy can introduce himself. So for me, if you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, CEO and co-founder of GovCon in a Box. And I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, did the jobs that you do. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's part of what I hope we have today is Andy sharing part of the process with us for success. So I'm happy you guys are here. I'm ecstatic that Andy's here. And Andy, maybe introduce yourself and tell us kind of what your role is at GSA.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Neil, for having me. Really appreciate it. These last 3 days have been fantastic. I am calling from beautiful New Jersey, central New Jersey. Yes, it exists. You can see up there the greetings from Asbury Park sign. I am working remotely as a GSA program analyst for the MAS professional services and human capital area. So my job is to increase business volume in the MAS program. And so in order to do that, I connect dots. I connect dots between GSA and our industry partners, GSA and our agency partners, and as well as connecting everybody with our internal GSA customer-facing folks. So excited to be here. I did put my my email address in my name there too. So that is a resource for you moving forward. Anything that you hear here that you need more feedback on, happy to answer your emails. And Neil, thanks again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate your willingness to help people. You and I were talking about this earlier about people have been calling you and touching base and getting your advice after these meetings. And they've told me that as well. One thing I will tell folks who are listening that Andy's world is at professional services and human capital, but he's willing to help you navigate GSA to his colleagues in GSA. And so do me a favor, just in the chat, let me know, are you in the professional services side of the house, human capital? Are you doing IT? If you don't know, GSA has 10 common goods, and sometimes we call them categories, that they look at what you sell and put you in. And so just let us know what you sell, a few words. It's fun for Andy to be able to see it. And also might get him thinking about this after the call. Oh, maybe I should talk with Joey or Sally because I see a lot of lodging people or facilities people in here or something. I was surprised I pulled out lodging. Hey, so let's talk with GSA MAS. Sometimes we get people in here who are not on MAS. So let's introduce GSA and MAS really quick and just let us know what that is.
Very simply, it's what's also commonly known as schedules or the federal supply schedule. It's a marketplace where federal, local, state, tribal, all these different organizations can get goods, products, and services at good prices. And so, what we do is we vet our industry partners and then bring them into this marketplace. Then things are purchased on that marketplace, and then we get a fee off of that, which pays for our operating costs. And so it's a marketplace that literally funds the organization. We do not work off appropriated funds. We work off of the funds that we generate from the marketplace that we create, and the MAS is the primary vehicle for that.
That's awesome. And one thing, I guess we'll talk more about this, but one thing I would say to add to this is that GSA, Andy and his peers over there, they advocate for us small businesses in the sense that they work with agencies to encourage them to use this contract vehicle compared to some other contract vehicles they have options for. And so if you're on GSA MAS, you want to be talking with your GSA advisors is a loose word I'll use, like Andy, like your contract officer, et cetera. Andy was here 2 days, yesterday and the day before. First day was talking about MAS and how to get on it or how to kind of improve on that. And yesterday was about contract teaming agreements. Go take a look at those because they all combine with today's topic, which is how can we get federal agencies to use what we sell or to use our contract vehicle. And so if you only have GSA MAS, this SIN, then it is really important for you to be driving opportunities there. How do we do that? That's what we're going to talk about today. And so, Andy, if it works with you, I'm just going to drive down through the 5 W's and an H, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and how.
I think that's got to be a staple of all of our interactions and all of our shows moving forward. Absolutely, we need a special segment for that. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's been around for like hundreds of years, so it's not like I'm creating something magical. The first thing I just want to talk with is when we think about GSA contract vehicles. Let's just start with that win-win idea that I had given a minute ago with the why. What's it, or with them for you, right? What's in it for the government to use my contract vehicle, my GSA MAS to start with?
Simplicity, flexibility, and security.
Simplicity, flexibility, and security.
Yes,
that's perfect. Let me see somebody put your favorite one of those 3 in there into the chat. Just let me know you're writing them down.
Those are the first 3 things that I talk about, and if you don't remember anything else from our 30 minutes here, remember this, that the most effective partners in government, the most effective industry partners that get involved with our agency partners are the ones that promote the most simple, most effective, most efficient way of getting from A to B. That is what the driving force, because there's two different schools. There's the contracting folks and there's the program folks. And so the program folks want the thing, they want the service, they want the product, but it's so essential that you address the contracting aspect of it. And MAS, that's where MAS comes in handy, because it offers those 3 things in mass abundance.
Right. No pun. So as we move forward, right, this is the thing, because sometimes we see opportunities come out in all these different stages, and maybe this is where we go a little bit, I don't know, into the where to a degree, but sometimes we'll see opportunities in SAM, and they're an RFI, sources saw it, or they're an RFP coming out. RFP's too late, just in case you guys don't know this, but shifting left, and the sources saw it, and the RFI, and maybe even shifting left of that. into the forecast and some of these other places. But from your experience, when is not the right time, because the right time is now, but when's the most effective time to be having this conversation with an agency about trying to use my contract vehicle, and combine that with when? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you said, as early in the process as humanly possible. And even to the fact of going back and looking at expiring contracts when expiring contracts are about to come up. That's always a good exercise as well, to get you even ahead of the curve of going, okay, I know this is coming. Unfortunately, most organizations aren't going to be motivated to move until they have to. And so that's the RFI. We also have what's called market research as a service at GSA. For those of you that are involved with GSA, be very involved with that, because that's the first step of that these organizations take of figuring out if there are viable industry partners out there for them to get solutions from. So as early in the process as possible. You're right. By the time it gets to be an RFP, then they're pretty much kind of it's set in their ways, and you're a little bit hamstrung. That's not to say that you shouldn't be involved. Be involved with as many different aspects of the process as possible, because sometimes you don't know when these things are going to break open. Yes, the RFPs are more limiting. However, there is still a chance, a possibility that you can get noticed. And that's the first step, is to get noticed, to be acknowledged as a player in this field, whatever playground you might be playing in. You want to be noticed. And so a lot of folks see the RFP and they go, oh, well, it's too late. Still respond. Don't waste too much time on it. I want to make that very clear. Be very cognizant of your return there. But if you can swing it, make sure you respond. Even if you respond with not interested, it still sends that message out there, and it still identifies you as a player. So
you're talking about on eBuy in particular.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. That's true. Yes.
No, that's awesome. So on for those people that don't know, if you've got a GSA MAS contract vehicle, then you can access it and the opportunities that are going through that using eBuy. I think it's not gsa.gov or something.
Yeah.
Something Andy said that I really want to reinforce at the beginning is looking at expiring contracts. There's three types of contracts, basically. There's new, there's recompete, and there's consolidated, is what I teach. And consolidated is basically recompete. Right. And what recompete means is they've spent before and they're probably going to spend again. Yes, it's a loose generalization, but those recompetes, literally, I have a customer in my BD Accelerator workshop this morning. We looked at 400 expiring contracts for the rest of FY 2025, and we're looking at the contract vehicles and identifying, hey, these were already on your contract vehicle. That's awesome. These ones aren't. Go knock on the doors and see if you can get in there. And so I want to reinforce that. Is it who's engaged on the agency side or who can influence the decision on which contract vehicles are being used?
Yeah, that's to me that's where you reach out to me as if you have a GSA contract. That's the time. One of the things that I've been kind of preaching since I've been in this position. I've been in this position for about a year and a half or so. So I'm slowly beginning to get some leverage on this. Is this and what I truly believe, it's not your job to convince them to go with GSA. It's our job. So we have people who are specifically assigned to each of these different contracts. We have lots of contracting specialists that can provide training, the background. Neil and I talk a lot about the difference between motivation or ability. Sometimes they're not motivated to use a certain vehicle. Sometimes they don't have the ability. You can reach out to us with the GSA things, and we can determine whether it is they need to get DPA training, or if there's some kind of other motivating factor that's there. My job before here was as a customer service director, and I worked as a matter of fact, a case in point, I worked with the VA Technical Acquisition Center, which is here in Eatontown, New Jersey, right down the street. So I took us from number 5 on the list to number 2 on the list.
On preferred.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So little feather in the cap there. So, so that's an example of what, the internal GSA folks, can do for you. We want you as our industry partners to concentrate on providing the most efficient, most effective, both cost and process wise solution to the government. Any of the other stuff, you lean on us to take care of.
No, I mean, I think you get this, but the average government person
Right.
just wouldn't get how much industry doesn't know
Yeah.
about what is available to us. And so what you're describing, I actually want to pull a thread on that and to go to Natalie's question, which I don't often look at the chat, but I just happened to
I
see
saw
it.
that one too.
Like,
Yeah, I was like, cool. I saw that one too. I was hoping you bring
well,
that
it
one up.
aligns too with what you just said. It's
Yeah.
like this idea of moving it up. And so instead of Natalie trying to bring up GSA and my contract vehicle, her contract vehicle higher, then we have advocates within GSA who can help us do that. Can you explain a little bit more or expand a little bit more on who those people are, the roles, so that we can actually tactically take a tactical tip? Call Andy, call this type of role, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our customer service directors and national account managers, NAMs, I might slip into the acronym. So I slip into the acronym. That's what I'm talking about. And so those are the two entities that are what we call agency facing. And so they went from, used to be when I was a CSD, it was through the regions. So I worked with Fort Dix, I worked with McGuire, so on and so forth. Now it's an agency position. So now if you are working with the Army and the Navy, for instance, that specific issue and challenge came down the pike, my industry partners came to me and said, "Hey, Andy, Navy wants to use us. We obviously want this, we want this opportunity, but there's a pushback on the contracting officer." Yeah. To me, no problem. I went into my CSD, said, "Hey, give me a list of 10 contracting officers in the Navy that work with the MAS program. Send them the list. Here are your contacts, and connect those two folks and connect that as far as creating that communication channel between that, and that's what facilitated the the award. So I
want to expand on that for a second, Andy, because
sure.
We could talk about a lot of things, but I'd rather go a little deeper into some of these ones that I think are vital to people. By the way, somebody put CSDs and NAMs rock in the chat, so that way we remember CSDs and NAMs in there.
Who said that? Who said that?
No, I'm saying everybody's
right there.
Yeah, no, I want that's like a tweetable moment.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I love that.
To drive into their head CSDs and NAMs, because so let's talk about and you're saying these people are open to us calling and saying, "Hey, I have a GSA MAS and I'm trying to go here. Can I get an intro call with you 15, 30 minutes to see if I can get your help?" They're open to that. My first question. My second one is, where does the CSD and NAM responsibility or way of helping us urge?
Okay, there you go. CSDs and NAMs rock. There you go. Yeah, first and foremost, it has to be tied to a pending solicitation. So again, like we said, hopefully early on in that process, kind of like what we talked about before. So the CSDs are not going to react to a cold call or a vague statement. Kind of coming back to our first thing, what's in it for CSDs is closed opportunities. So that's what. So
let me stop you just to say, okay. Fourth grade level.
Oh, sorry.
For everybody. No, you're fine. But what the CSDs are measured on the amount of times they can get a federal agency to use GSA. So it's a bonus for them to help you when you've identified an opportunity that they can go advocate, because they'll advocate for you, but they're kind of all advocating for GSA's use as well. So
absolutely,
keep going.
Absolutely. So they're being told by that agency that there's no small business out there or no businesses out there that can satisfy what they're looking for. And so the CSD always is actively looking for, obviously, GSA. These are GSA contracting folks, but they're looking for viable candidates to take care of what these really key and essential issues and challenges are.
Candidates being industry.
Yeah, right. And so when I mean closed-won opportunities, I mean we have Salesforce. We use Salesforce for our customer relationship management, And so, one of the main things that CSDs get judged on is how many times that they're able to close opportunities. So they get sent a bunch of opportunities there, and so they need to make that happen.
No, I got to tell you, I mean, this is for some people out there, they might go, "Oh, I know that." 90% of us don't know that, and we don't understand. Like
Right.
you're describing in sales, there's business development, which is that kind of broader, sweeping thing, or capture around a specific opportunity. And you're advocating yet another person who I'm going to start teaching must be in your pipeline as just a name, even if you don't call them. You must know who the CDC is related, or CSD is related. Where does the NAM come in to the CSD? Like, where do they overlap, or when should I call one or the other?
The NAMs are the ones that have, well, it that really aligns with where their connections are, and so the NAMs are the higher level connections. Those are a little harder to get a hold of. The CSDs are the ones who are kind of on the boots on the ground, if you will, for that. So they're the mid level and higher level of management. But if you're talking about and so that it also kind of references back to what kind of project or what kind of solicitation you're talking about. So if you're talking about hundreds of millions or those kind of things, then the NAM's going to be involved with the higher level ones, as opposed to the CSDs are going to be with the lower level ones, maybe the 10 million, maybe the 15 million, those kind of things.
No, but that's so awesome, because I have a customer I was talking to, and they brought in a couple other companies they were teaming, but they brought in an Air Force customer who wanted to work with them, and these two were trying to figure out how to get together. And it was a smaller opportunity, like less than 10 million for sure. I think it might have been less than 2 million. But they were talking about the NAMs. They kept throwing the NAMs around. It's like, oh, we had a national account manager.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of the same thing. It's like, don't go to the VP of something when you can get to the director of something, because they're a little more closer to the work. It's like the way I say, when you think about a contracting officer, a contract specialist, or a core or something, if you can get in and talk to them, they're on the ground. In our world, we don't need to talk to OSDBUs. We need to talk to small business specialists who work with it. So those things are awesome. By the way, really quickly for everybody, do you have a GSA schedule? Not that Andy won't talk to you if you don't, but just let us know, because his kind of world is GSA MAS. Is there a certain designation too that is like a sin or something they should throw in that aligns to your particular world? Like, just let us know if you have GSA MAS.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
So I wanted to get your thoughts, and I'm going to answer first just from a sales guy's perspective. And then I saw somebody put this question in about, I'm going to paraphrase the questions because there were several, but this idea of how do we get people to use our contract vehicle instead of Seaport or SUB? Is there a way to mandate certain things? First off, the biggest thing we need to understand in industry is contracting officers can do whatever they want. Agencies can do whatever they want, and they do whatever they want. A good example is Seaport Next Gen is the only contract vehicle the Navy will use, except the commands that don't want to use it, they're not going to use it, kind of thing. And so you're not going to make somebody do anything. And so the part maybe I'm going to hand it to Andy is, well, how do we encourage them to use it? And I wanted to get you to start first at the very basic functional and go up. And what I mean by functional is you dropped in DPA. No one probably knows what DPA is. And so can you start with, what does that mean? Because I think that's the ability you had said in the beginning. And then how do we motivate them to use it?
Motivation is a tough and a tricky thing. That let me make sure the my DPA acronym is correct. It's
I think it's delegated procurement.
Yes. Yep.
I learned that the 8A Stars 3.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you've ever had those moments when you're live and you just, that went right out my head. Yep, absolutely. Yes, that's the first key part of it. The other part of it is, and again, these are examples that you can get from us, or even from FPDS or any of that, just basic history. And so, the history of how much we've worked with these organizations in the past, all of what we've done, we are the standard bearer. There's no mandate. There used to be that's why I was kind of chuckling when you said you were talking about a mandate. There used to be a mandate before my time, and before that, before that's what kind of produced soup and chess and all those kind of things, because to your point, the Army likes to do it the Army way, and the Navy likes to do it the Navy way, and the Air Force likes to do it the Air Force way. And there are agencies that are more open to doing business than with GSA than not. And that's why I kind of illustrated that point with the VA tack that I was talking about, is that given left to their own devices, they're going to take the easiest way out, and it's DPA, P as in Paul, Matthew, but delegation of procurement authority, and so it's really, that's where the personal relationships hopefully come into play, and so where the convincing has to be done ultimately really is with GSA, and so hopefully our CSDs, our NAMs have that kind of relationship where we can kind of talk them into it.
Yeah, no,
like you said, at the end of the day, and this is these are the reasons why we lose opportunities, is because even though the program manager wants to use us and is totally into it, and then goes up to the contracting office, and the contracting office goes, beep, 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 I don't do that, or it's not the preferred, because there's no mandate, but if it's not the preferred, then you have to bring in a level of paperwork, which a lot of contracting officers aren't willing to do, unless you can convince them that it's going to take a lot less time and be a lot more flexible, and there's a lot more security to it. So you go back to those three that I mentioned in the first piece.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and we're kind of getting down to the wire here. One of so for me, the big takeaway from today, because the idea is, how do we get more federal agencies, or get federal agencies to use my contract vehicle? And part of it is having conversations. I would tell people that, look, sources sought is a great opportunity, but one thing you might consider doing is go find 5 or 10 or 20 other people on the same contract vehicle and tell them about a sources sought. You all respond independently, but you all respond with a paragraph that says, please set it aside to this GSA contract vehicle, as an example, if it's not already in GSA. And then you compete toe to toe or head to head or something afterwards. But the CDC or CSD is the takeaway for me. And Andy, maybe this is kind of the last tip, because that is a really important advocate, or a path to getting to convince somebody to use it, some agency to use my vehicle. Mm-hmm. What is your recommendations for, first off, how do I find the CDC that I should be calling? How do I, make that first outreach? How would you recommend?
The CSD? The CSD?
CSD. What do I keep saying?
CDC is what you're saying.
Well, I'm trying to get into
just making sure. That's cool. Just making sure we're on the same
making
page.
Acronyms up.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me. That's the easiest way possible at this point. We're in a transition mode. Like I said, they're going from region to agency. So you can go to gsa.gov and look up CSDs. I've had varying success doing that. So they put it on and they pull it off, kind of thing. So you can reach out to me and I can get you a list.
There you go. I don't think you could have asked for a better wrap up to what we do. So just a reminder to everybody, Andy has come along 3 different days talking about GSA MAS, why you should be on it, why it's valuable to small businesses in particular. And then he talked about CTAs, these contract or teaming agreements, which allow multiple GSA contract holders to go after basically bigger opportunities using both of their GSA contract vehicles. And today he's talking about, how can you go get access? I hear people complain about, I have a GSA MAS schedule and I'm not winning, or I can't find anything. He has just given us tips. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't connect with him on LinkedIn, if you don't reach out to him and say thank you in the chat, but in an email, his email's right there, then you're missing out on a person who can help you move forward a little bit. And Andy, I really appreciate your generosity. Even that last thing to just say, just reach out to me. I'll help make that happen. That is such an awesome thing. Givers are awesome.
It drives my boss crazy, but I love doing it, and that's the important part. That I always want to know, that I always want my industry partners to know that there's a human being out there, and that GSA is out there. If you don't succeed, we don't succeed, and that is something that GSA does not do a good job all the time of expressing. So Always love to do that. One quick one, Kyra.
Yeah.
I see you out there. That's a general timeline. Send me an email, and we can follow up on that. That's for Kyra. Kira. I apologize.
We're both just guessing, I think.
There you go. Cool.
Hey, by the way, if you found value in today's training, put GSA Rocks into the chat. Andy, do me a favor, stay in the backstage this time so I can chat with you afterwards.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
You bailed on me, and
I've got things to do. I'm a busy man. I've got things to do.
I got people to see.
Right? Exactly.
Right. Okay, Andy, again, thank you very much. You provided a ton of great information, and a ton of people are getting value, so thank you very much. I will see you, Andy, in a few minutes. For everybody else, just remember, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Andy has just taught us some of the process. I will see you all in the next training.